Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hen says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Sorry, Quaid. Your whole life is just a dream.
Okay, then. If I'm not me, who the hell am I?
Hello and welcome to this week's Monday Movie Show. I'm your host Stuart and I'm also joined by Andy.
Welcome and good evening to the show.
Yeah, coming up we have a couple of reviews. They are...
we have the Len Wiseman directed remake of Total Recall and the horror movie The Possession.
Yeah, on top of that we have some movie news in the box office top 10. But before we go into any of that, let's do a couple of shout outs. First thing, I said I would say a happy birthday to him. It's Dizzy Monkey's birthday and I'm not going to give away his age. If you want to find out his age, you need to ask him. So happy birthday to him. And also, a good friend, well, a friend of mine and Andy's, he's a part of the Awesome Squad. He had a baby last week. So that's The Menace UK on Twitter. So just want to say congratulations to him.
There's also something else I need to give a shout out on, but unfortunately I don't have the details here. So what I will do is do that in the DVD half of the show.
Yeah, and if you can't find the details, the person is Saucy Chip. If you can send you the details, and then you can read them out, like you said on the DVD and Blu-ray part of the show.
Yes, I did have a link, and I meant to put it on our site, which I will do tonight because I completely lost it now. So, Saucy, if you are listening, please can you send that to me again or tweet it to me or something like that, so we can then get that up and make an announcement in about 45 minutes' time.
Yeah, also you can get us on the live chat on Spreaker. Please chat to us during the show. But let's kick things off with the box office top 10. At number 10, and you went with for The Imposter.
Yeah, it's a film which is based on true events that happened when a French national who he was in troubles of some kind, at some problem, claimed that he was the missing American teenage boy who had been missing for several years, even though he was different age, had different appearance and things like different eye colours. We've not seen this, but it's getting really good rage, although it's getting a bit of a mixed opinion, because there are sequences where the whole thing is done with interviews sort of in a documentary style, and then there are reenactments and there are interviews, and the thing is voiced over, the voiceover explaining a lot of it is the actual man who did the thing himself. He did the impersonation himself. So it's sort of, I think it's getting a bit of a backlash because of people going, oh well, it's putting a view forward from this guy who basically hurt these people, hurt their families and stuff, because he was claiming to be their long lost son who is still presumed missing.
I personally think it looks like a really interesting movie. It's Picture House Cinemas, which is pushing the film as much as they possibly can. And this week it's opened up to more screens, so around about 70 screens, so you've got a better chance of finding it. Number 9, Ice Age Continental Drift.
Is there anything more to say about this? I mean, I still haven't seen this, so I can't really comment on it. But I know that you and everyone else who's seen it have been saying pretty much more of the same, but slightly weaker.
Yeah, I've said it every single week. The storyline's very basic. The humour, it relies too much on Scrat. Number 8, Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Dog Days.
Shall I leave this one to you as well? Because you've seen the others, but neither of us have seen this. But you've seen the other two before it, haven't you?
Well, I've seen the second one. I haven't seen the first one.
The second one.
Yeah.
And it's more of these kids' films which are dumbed down far too much for adults and still more for kids.
Pretty much, yeah, practically. At number 7, and you went for the Three Stooges.
This is the Farrelly brothers update of the story of the Three Stooges, with 3 actors that look the part, and from what we can tell, they act the part, but the film is just... It's not particularly good as far as I'm aware. You've seen it, I haven't, so you'll have to comment on this one again.
Yeah, it's one of those movies which I would have to throw into the category of completely forgettable. Now, even if a movie is bad, it does not try. It wants to try its best not to be a forgettable film, and honestly, it is really forgettable. The best thing about the film is the three people who play the Stooges in the movie. They're actually pretty similar to the original Three Stooges. That's all that's good about it. Nothing else. It's terrible. At number 6, The Expendables 2.
Perfectly fine sequel if you like the tone of the original one. Otherwise, you'll probably find it, as Stuart did, to be awful and terrible. For me, I thought it was not too bad. It was what I expected it to be. Big, loud, dumb action with loads of 80s action stars in it. And it's, for me, and from that opinion, I didn't think it was bad. A lot of people have had very different opinions of it, all with disparaging remarks.
Yeah, you probably know exactly how I feel about it, so let's get on to... this is going to be fun. At number 5, and you went for Keith Lemon, the film.
Yep, the film that I have already said it earlier this week, and I stick by that. Worst film of the year for me so far. It's definitely going to be in my top 10 worst films. It may be the top worst film. I mean, we've still got another few months to go, so there's ever the possibility that something may be worse than this, but I doubt it. Not a fan of the Keith Lemon character. I'm not a fan of Lee Francis's stuff at all. And really, the film just isn't funny. There's not any story to it. There's not any jokes in it that are funny, and the jokes are all stretched out about 5 times longer than they need to be. Terrible. Awful. Why did it get to number 5? It shouldn't even be in the top 10.
No, the thing is, though, it is surprising that it only got to number 5, because we were expecting it to be much, much more higher than that.
Well,
so,
evidently people know what to expect with Keith Lemon, so they've stayed away. Everyone who watches it on ITV2 must not have gone to the cinema, because I know he gets a big audience on ITV2, but no, it's not deserved in this. It's awful.
Yeah, number 4, Dark Knight Rises.
What else is there to say? We've got a news thing coming up about that in a minute. We'll cover that in a minute, but other than that, nothing more to say.
Yeah, number 3, Bourne Legacy.
It's Born without the Born.
Again, it's Born Free.
There's not a lot. Oh God, there's not a lot more we can say about it other than Jeremy Renner is fairly good in it. Rachel Rises, I think she's perfectly fine in it as well. I enjoyed it. I liked it. I think it does more for the Bourne franchise than it does focus on its own story, which it really should have.
No, it actually does more for a franchise on its own rather than the Bourne franchise. Because
I think by that I mean it expands the universe. So I think it set up things so that Matt Damon could easily come back and it would make sense.
Well, I personally think that it hinders the Bourne franchise myself. Number 2, Ted.
Possibly the funniest film of the year. Seth MacFarlane.
It is the funniest film of the year. Yeah.
Well, yeah, true.
So far.
Yeah.
We'll put the caveat so far.
Yes, so far. It is the funniest film so far. Seth MacFarlane humour, if you're into Family Guy and American Dad and The Cleveland Show, then you know exactly what to expect of it. Only, weirdly, just this whole thing of a live walking around teddy bear, which is just, it works on so many levels. And I saw it in the audience, and Stuart's seen it, I know as well. We both laughed well above the 6 times that's required for it to be a good comedy.
Yeah, and finally at number 1, Brave.
In 4 words, Pixar without the heart. It's really it's a Pixar animation. It looks good. There's just not so much to it as there really is normally with a Pixar film. It's Pixar light. It's a perfectly good story. It just hasn't really been built up in the film. It's really nice to look at. The 3D though is pretty bad because it's a very dark film. So if you are still going to go and see it, I would, even as a 3D fan, recommend the 2D version, because the 3D version there must be half of the film is in dark scenes, which if anyone knows anything about 3D makes it harder to see. So it's, unless you really want to desperate to see it in 3D, because it is an animation one, so it does the 3D really well, there's no point. See it in the 2D, you'll enjoy the image a lot better.
Yeah, I agree. Right, let's get on with some movie news. According to director Jeff Wadlow, Jim Carrey is set to play the Colonel in Kick-Ass 2, which begins shooting in 6 years' time. Wadlow went on Twitter and said, 6 years till we start shooting and we officially have our Colonel. The character of the Colonel is an ex-military in charge of recruiting and leading a Justice League-esque crew. He also had ties with the bad guy from the first film.
I'm not sure what to expect from Kick-Ass 2. I mean, I look forward to it because the first one was really good, but it's not Matthew Vaughn involved with it, who directed the first one. I think he's on just as a producing role. So I'm kind of interested in it, but I'll wait till we see some kind of footage sometime in the trailer to see what it's kind of looking like.
That'll be a while yet, because like I said, it starts shooting in 6 years' time. Jim Carrey's interesting casting, actually.
Well, the question is, how is he going to play it? Because, I mean, you've got Christopher Mintz-Plasse in it. Now, McLovin, basically, playing it in the film, he plays it very straight. Whereas, is Jim Carrey going to be playing things very straight, or is he going to be playing it very...
You never know.
Like Nicolas Cage did in the first one. Is he going to be playing it very cheesy and... I mean, it is going to be until we first see that footage of him, what he's like in it, we won't know. But that I think is going to be one of the deciding factors on to whether or not this is good. I think Jim Carrey is going to be a big part, and his performance, how he plays it, will affect it.
Probably. Right. At this year's Metal Gear Solid 25th anniversary, lead designer Hideo Kojima has confirmed that a Metal Gear Solid film is in the works, with Spider-Man producer Avid Arad at the helm. Nobody has been cast to play Snake at the moment. I'm
kind of interested in this. I don't know, because the Metal Gear Solid films or the Metal Gear Solid games are essentially interactive movies for the large part, and the problem is that some of them have way too much video in them more than game. I will be at Eurogamer myself this year on the day that Hideo Kojima is going to be there, so I shall hopefully be covering this a bit. So I may be able to bring some details of this directly from the expo. He's keeping fingers crossed.
I don't think he's going to announce anything more to do with the movie at the expo. I think he's only just there for Metal Gear Revengeance, or whatever it's called, Rising.
Yeah, but if it's something like that, if there's any kind of Q&A, you know it's going to come up. It's one of those things that somebody will mention it.
But I wonder who's they're going to get to play a Snake.
I mean,
that's the interesting casting.
They could get David Hayter, the guy who voiced him in the games. He is an actor as well. He's not just a voice actor. He's not been in that many films. He's a writer as well. So, I mean, they could maybe even bring him on as a writer for the film too. Whether or not they cast him as the actor, I could see him in the role, but I haven't seen him in anything for a while. And he was a bit young when I last saw him in something. So now he may be the kind of good older age that would suit the character more.
No, I think they'll need more of an experienced actor over him. But
Possibly.
You never know. Michael Bay has spoken out. Our favourite person, Michael Bay, has spoken out against reviewers hating the leaked Ninja Turtle script. Bay wrote on his official website forum, the leaked script for Ninja Turtles that different sites continue to comment on was written well before I or anyone at Platinum Dunes was involved with the project. He went on to say that the script saw the Shredder, see what I did there, Shredder, ba-dum-dum, a long time ago. This is tired, old news, wait for the movie.
I do remember Michael Bay saying something else about a film that wasn't very good, and he said, oh yeah, we kind of dropped the ball on that one, screwed it up, but we'll make it better on the next one, and that next one was Transformers Dark of the Moon. Need we say anything more?
Yeah, Bay likes to speak out of his Dark of the Moon. Right, final piece of news story from me. It's been confirmed that production on Jared Butler's film Motor City has been halted after its financial backers pulled out. The film was set to star Butler himself alongside Mickey Rourke and Adrian Brody, and was going to tell the story of a recent release convict set to get his revenge on the people who framed him. The reason for the financial backers pulling out is that Warner Brothers set a harsh delivery date of March the 31st, in which the backers said that there was no way they would be able to meet that with the quality of the movie they wanted to make.
Well, I mean, it's the production hell stories you hear again of time and money being the issues, because that's what pushes the industry where studios are concerned. I don't know. I mean, it's probably not the only film this year that's been affected by both time and money. And I mean, you've heard of one of the Dark Castle or something. I can't remember the name of it now. I can't think of it. It's something based on a Stephen King one. Has been on and off and on and off about 6 times in the last 2 years. So it's not anything new. Gerard Butler, I think he's actually becoming a really good actor who can hold a film himself. So I don't see why they have any problem with him.
Yep, your turn. Big silence there.
Okay, on to my news. It's previously announced that Avengers director Joss Whedon was signed on to stay with Marvel to work on future projects, including Avengers 2 and a television series set in the Marvel Universe. Details have now emerged that a pilot for the series is to be written and possibly directed by Whedon, and the title will be S.H.I.E.L.D., presumably following the Strategic Homeland Intervention Enforcement Logistics Division, as it was called in the first Iron Man movie, and as last seen in The Avengers.
Whedon has now definitely become the most busiest person in America, in Hollywood. It used to be Guillermo del Toro. He used to be obsessed with releasing details of different projects that he's working on. Now he's passed the baton on to Joss Whedon after obviously his huge success with the Avengers.
I mean, the thing is as well, you've got in the cast of the Avengers, who played Maria Hill, was Kobe Smulders, who is in the sitcom How I Met Your Mother. Now, she's been in that for several years, and I believe this is the last year of that show, which means she could possibly then be free to transfer over to the S.H.I.E.L.D. series. So there would be that continuity there of her being in the Avengers films and being in the series.
Here, bees.
Hugh Laurie's. I sound like Hugh Laurie's role in the RoboCop remake has been recast after his departure from the Trouble Project. Beetlejuice actor Michael Keaton has stepped into the role, and the movie is due to begin shooting next month and be released on August 9th, 2013.
Good casting. I like Michael Keaton. What I've heard also about the film is that the director is just having hell with it, absolute hell with the film itself. Because you can probably tell why. There's constant news stories about RoboCop, about actors coming in, actors going out, troubles on set, etc., etc.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. I'm surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if the next thing we hear is that the director has actually left the project, even at such a late date before it's about to start filming. I mean, it's happened before. You never know. They might end up with Brett Ratner getting this one done again.
No, God, no, please, no.
Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight Rises has become the 12th movie to pass the $1 billion mark at the worldwide box office. In related news, Joss Whedon's The Avengers has now passed the $1.5 billion mark at the worldwide box office, and it itself only just recently opened in Japan on the 14th of August, so that's why it's been pushed over that recently. Top 10 highest grossing films worldwide of all time are currently at number 10, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Number 9, Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides. Number 8, Toy Story 3. Number 7, Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest. Number 6, Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. Number 5, Transformers, Dark of the Moon. Ugh. Number 4, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. Number 3 is The Avengers. Number 2 is Titanic. And number 1 is Avatar. The Dark Knight Rises is currently in the number 12 spot, behind Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland at number 11. And all those 12 films are now over the $1 billion worldwide mark.
Okay, next.
The final piece of news this evening is regarding Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings follow-up, The Hobbit. It's officially been split into 3 movies, as he was originally going to do it as 2 films, then he announced recently he wanted to change it to 3. That has been given the go-ahead officially, and it now has 3 titles for the 3 films. They are The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey, which comes out December 14th this year. The Hobbit, Desolation of Smaug, which is being released December next year. And then The Hobbit, There and Back Again, which was originally the second movie title, is now being released in the middle of the year, July 2014.
Yeah, I find it interesting that it's a 7-month gap rather than a year gap between the last 2. It's just... You would have expected it to be out at Christmas, because that's the way we worked it out, sort of, isn't it? We worked it out that they're going to have each one of the Hobbit films at Christmas, and then the second Avatar movie is going to be the one to take its place the Christmas after.
Exactly. I think that's why they haven't put it to Christmas again, because of the fact of they realised Avatar by that point were coming out, and they think they're going to have a war in their hands then. So I think releasing middle of the year. Saying that though, X-Men First Class sequel, Days of Future Past, is set for July 18th and set in 2014. So if they're on the same day, there's going to be a fight there between those two films, and one of them's probably going to move. Probably be the X-Men film.
They're not going to be released on the same date. I doubt we'll see Hobbit and X-Men film out on the same day. That's committing suicide for one of them, and I can probably guess which one is the one that's going to lose out of the two. It'll probably be X-Men, unfortunately. Right. Let's go to a break now for the Holocaust, and after that we'll be back with our first review.
Kids, there's nothing more cool than listening to a podcast you like. But if someone podcasts in a place or in a way that you find unfunny, that's no good. So what do? First, you say, lol no. Second, you tell them to GTFO. Third, you get some Holocaust in your luggles. And most importantly, you have to tell someone. Like your parents, your teacher, or a police officer. We are the Holocaust. 9 o'clock, Wednesday nights, holocaust.co.uk. We don't clash with The Apprentice anymore.
Hello and welcome. Welcome back, Andy. Go ahead.
Let's go straight to Total Recall then, which is directed by Len Wiseman. It's a remake of the Paul Verhoeven 1990 or 1991 now, I'm not sure, original film of the same title. It stars Colin Farrell in the title role of Douglas Quaid, who is a guy who lives in a world where there are now only two sort of continents that are now surviving what's left over of humanity after a supposed world war has left the rest of the world completely covered in biological fallout, meaning that only the United Federation of Britain and the colony, which was formerly Australia, are the only two areas where people can actually live. As a result of that, space is now a premium, and everyone is crammed into buildings that are built up upon each other. There is a sort of an upper and lower class thing going on, where there are the upper class of the United Federation of Britain, which is run by Chancellor Cohagen, played by Bryan Cranston. You have Farrell's character, Douglas Quaid, who lives in the colony with his wife, Laurie, played by Kate Beckinsale, who they live in sort of almost the lower end of humanity, of life, and travel to the United Federation of Britain through a rather remarkable invention, which is a sort of a tunnel that goes directly through the Earth's core. As a result of his life not being particularly well up to much, they've been living in the colony for 3 years, and Quaid is not particularly happy with this thing. He's feeling a bit sort of despondent, decides to go to this amazing company called Recall, where you can have a memory implanted of any memory you want, anything you kind of imagine, and you will remember these memories as if they are your own. Here's a clip.
One last thing, Doug. As a matter of full disclosure, none of the secret life elements you chose can actually be true. It would cause irreparable conflict and confusion. That's how brains get blown.
Don't worry. I don't have any secrets.
Get ready to save the world. Happy trails, man.
Wait. What? What is it? What's wrong?
Yank that needle out before it takes. Wait here! Whoa! Federal police! On your feet, now!
It's all a mistake. I'm nobody.
Hands on your head, now!
So, being that this is a remake, expectations were obviously lowered, Even more so because I am a huge fan of the original, which stars Arnold Schwarzenegger in the Colin Farrell role. The thing is that's really surprising is that with this film, I actually really enjoyed it. I did enjoy the film. I was expecting it to be really bad, be awful. Given that Len Wiseman is the man who directed Die Hard 4, which is not one of the better action films, it's the thing with this is that it's a lot more competent. It's still nowhere near as good as the original, but it is a perfectly fine, average science fiction film. It's not bad. It should be, despite some ridiculous ideas in it. Like I said, a tunnel that goes directly through the core of the Earth, which, if you think about it, the feasibility of it, it's just mind-bogglingly ridiculous. You've got a decent cast. I mean, Colin Farrell is... The thing about Colin Farrell playing the character that was played by Arnold Schwarzenegger is Colin Farrell is a lot more relatable to the everyman. The more average person is going to feel more emphasis on his character, feel more related to his character because he's just the average schmo who's just working in a factory. He doesn't look like a super agent or anything. He just looks like the normal guy. Kate Beckinsale is probably the best thing in this film. She's a really good performance in it, although she does become sort of one-tone villain after a certain point. And the whole thing is, if you do know the original, there are lots of scenes in it that are taken directly out of that. Then there are things as the movie progresses, which are new little things added in here and there, which I like. There are some things like the ideas of the dystopian future and the technology, which is pretty much right out of Blade Runner, are very well handled and well nicely done. I mean, I love there's this thing to have a phone in your hand that you put it to glass and the glass displays the image and everything, which I was just like, oh, really nice sort of thing. But there's this sort of whole thing all the way through it, which it is entertaining. It never really falls when you're expecting it to, and it doesn't go past that point. I mean, if you can go with the ridiculous thing of a tunnel that goes through the Earth's core, then you'll enjoy the rest of the film. That will be the stumbling block for a lot of people, anyone who decides to watch it. Anyone who hasn't seen the original, I would say to them, go and see this, and then go home and then get hold of the original and check it out and see how much more better that film is. The thing about this is, well, it's a 12A rating. I wouldn't recommend this to anyone to take anyone under the age of 12 because it's fairly violent, and there is a scene in relation to the original one involving a three-breasted hooker. Yes, I did say that, three-breasted hooker. And in this film, for a 12 rating, it actually has complete topless frontal nudity, which was surprising. When I saw it, I was like, hang on a minute, was this a 12? Was it 15? It is a 12. I was genuinely surprised they let that go in it. But it's a decent film. If you like the original, though, it won't hold up to it.
Right. You're probably actually waiting to find out what I thought of it. Will I be harsh or will it be nice? What do you think?
I think it'd be nice because I generally think it's a decent film. It's not a brilliant film, but it's nowhere near the train wreck I was expecting. It's not a bad film. It's okay.
Well, I will say that Jessica Biel is a pointless character in it. Jessica Biel's character is completely pointless. It's absolutely wasted character. I do like the look of the film. It reminded me a lot of the game Deus Ex. It's got that future dystopian look, like you said. So I did like the look of the film itself. But I don't know why, for some reason, while I was watching the movie, I was going, action scene, yep, bit of dialogue, yep, bit of action scene, yep, bit of dialogue, yep, bit of action scene. And I was thinking during myself, there is something really badly wrong with this film. And I could not think, I don't know what my brain was not latching onto, why I was not enjoying myself. I was watching through the film and I was thinking, yeah, I suppose so, maybe, okay then, lovely. Oh, is that it? I don't know why, I just wasn't attached to the movie. I just didn't feel attached to the movie at all. I can understand where you were saying that people relate to Farrell's character much more with him being a much more everyday man, and you see him at work, working on the robots themselves. So I can see where you're coming from with that, and the fact that it is a really borderline 12 year. It should have been a 15.
Yeah, there's certain elements in it which, tonally as well, there are certain elements that anyone under the age of 12 is going to struggle with, especially. And this is the thing. This is the thing that people will have maybe seen it and think, "Oh, I'll go to that. I'll take my kid who's 10 No, I would say no. Anyone under the age of 12, it is a 12, not a 12A as far as I'm concerned, and it really should be a 15, not even a 12.
Even the scene where Farrell has gone to recall, and when he's first going into the machine itself, and she puts the needle in his arm, and she turns around and says, "This is still the best way for us to get drugs into your system." I was thinking, they actually included that in a 12-year? That's the kind of thing you would only see in a 15. You wouldn't see that. That is practically drug taking, which you would see in a more adult orientated film. So it is very adult orientated, because even some of the action scenes can be quite brutal for younger kids. So yeah, definitely do not recommend it for a 12 person. But it's just.
The thing with it as well is just in relation to the original, to Paul Verhoeven's version, because Paul Verhoeven has this thing where he is extremely visceral in his films and extremely graphic in his films. The original Total Recall is extremely violent and bloody and gory, yet that recently was downgraded from an 18 to a 15 by the BBFC. So, I mean, that's possibly why they've given this a 12, because they think, it's not anywhere near as bad as the original was. And it's not, but it's still too much, really, for a 12. I mean, going back to what you were saying as well about action scene, there is that thing to it. And a lot of it is sort of mindless action, but there is moments in between it which it's like they've streamlined the original film, the story, and they've cut out a lot of it, but they've left in a lot of the mentally disturbing ideas.
Yeah, like I said, it just something was nagging at me seeing that. You're not actually enjoying this film, are you? If I had a devil on my shoulder and an angel on my shoulder, I think the devil would win, going, yeah, you're not really enjoying this film. So I just didn't enjoy it that much.
As I said, I mean, I liked it. I kind of enjoyed it, but it was just average. There was nothing especially special about it. And afterwards, all I was like, oh, okay, I like it, but it's nowhere near the style and the feel of the original. The original's still my favourite of the two.
Right, got another film to review, The Possession. It's directed by Oliver Bonedel. I couldn't find out if he actually worked on any other film before, and it stars Jeffrey Dean Morgan. It centres around a family. Jeffrey Dean Morgan, he plays Clyde. He's a basketball coach at a school. He's divorced from his wife, and so he gets custody of the children once every fortnight. So he's got his two daughters, both played by Natasha Callis, who plays Em, who's the youngest daughter, and Madison Davenport, who plays Hannah, who's the older daughter, slightly teenage daughter, who obviously in phones and things like that. And the first time where you see him have the children over at his new house that he's just actually bought, they're going out for lunch, and they see that somebody's having a yard sale. They discover the girl, Em, discovers this box at this yard sale. She really wants to buy it along with other stuff. They pay for the stuff, they get the box home, and all of a sudden you just start hearing whispers coming from the box itself. And during the film, the box starts to slowly latch on to the younger sister, Em, and you might as well say it does actually possess her. She goes to bed with the box. She starts inhabiting really strange behaviour patterns. One scene during breakfast, she stabs her father in the hand after her father tries to stop her from eating her breakfast too much. During one weekend, things start to escalate so much out of control because the father suspects that this box is causing this problem, and he tries to get rid of the box, but Em wants it back. Here's a clip.
Where's my box?
I got rid of it, Em.
Tell me where it is.
It's not here.
I'm calling Mom.
That's not happening. And if you keep talking to me like this, you're gonna be grounded the rest of the weekend.
I don't love you.
Emily.
Then Mommy doesn't love you. You think you know everything, but you
better knock
don't.
it off. Stop it right now.
Oh, Daddy!
What are
Daddy, you doing to me, Daddy? Did you just hit her?
No, damn it, I didn't hit her!
And so, like I said, during the rest of the film, Em, she slowly spirals completely out of control, so much so that it causes the father to hunt out a Jewish priest who knows something about the demon that lives inside the box, which is a Dybbuk, which is a demon that latches onto children and possesses them so he can inhabit the body and become human again. Now, the film itself is based on a true story, and like Andy told me during the clip you heard there, it's based on a box that was sold on eBay, supposedly. And at the start of the film, it does actually say based on a true story. Now, I hate films, movies like this that say that it's based on a true story, because 10 times out of 10, you know it's bullcrap. Because it is practically bullcrap. I know a lot of like Jewish faith believe in Dybbuks, and faith does believe in that people can be possessed by demons. But no, I don't buy that whatsoever. The film itself is not too bad for a movie that it's gone straight to number one in America. It only took $17 million in America, but that managed to make it number one ahead of Lawless, which is surprising. It plods along like the usual films of this ilk. It does not belong in the same category of movies like The Devil Inside, which is one of the worst horror films I've seen in the last few years. Again, about possession. But Jeffrey Dean Morgan as the father, Clyde, is fine. It follows the same traits as you would normally expect with somebody who gets possessed. So if you've seen numerous amount of films and you go to see this, it follows exactly the same route. The last 20 minutes, everything completely spirals out of control, and that's when I think the horror of the movie properly kicks in. For the first 60 minutes of the film, it's more about the girl slowly getting possessed. And Natasha Callas, who plays M, she's actually really good, because she reminded me a lot of Regan from The Exorcist. Now, I'm not a huge fan of The Exorcist. I think The Exorcist is a pretty overrated horror film. So I'm not a big fan of The Exorcist, even though I can see where it's coming from and the fact that it did give horror the big injection that it needed. So I think Natasha Callas played her part really well, and there is a bit of gore in the film itself. What's surprising is the fact that the movie was cut in America for it to be given a PG-13. We got the exact same cut over here, and we got it as a 15. Now, if people do get scared of these kind of films, you will get scared in the last 20 minutes of it, because there's a couple of dark scenes in there, but there isn't any proper jump out of your seat scenes at all. And it plods along, like you said, for the hour and a half, and it's just another one of those paint-by-number possession movies, but more on the slightly decent side rather than the terrible side. So, watch it if you like those kind of movies. Right, that's it for the cinema section of the show. You can catch this episode on iTunes, or previous episodes on iTunes as well. We'll be back in a moment with the Blu-ray and DVD part of the show as well, so we will see you then.